Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We warmly welcome you all to the Green Talk conducted by the Green Building Council of Sri Lanka for the month of December. Sustainable development ensures that what we are doing now is better for us, but should also help our future generations, and an endless cycle should exist. A smarter use of natural resources will help our future generations. So green buildings are one of the examples of sustainable development. As the Green Building Council of Sri Lanka, we always look forward to improve and promote the built environment with sustainable practices with the vision to transform Sri Lanka's construction industry with green building practices and to fully adapt sustainability as the means by which our environment flourishes, economy prospers, and society grows, ensuring the future well-being of our motherland. So, therefore, today lecture is a very special topic for us. It is towards sustainable cities, challenges, and way forward. And also, today lecture will be conducted by Senior Professor Hemanthi Ranasinghe. Actually, it's my great honor and pleasure to introduce our Professor Hemanthi Ranasinghe. Let me give a few minutes to introduce her. Professor Hemanthi Ranasinghe is a senior professor in forestry and environmental science at the University of Jayewardenepura, Sri Lanka, and she's a chartered environmentalist and chairperson of the Institute of Environmental Professionals, Sri Lanka. And also, she internationally serves as a co-chair of the IUCN Commission of the Ecosystem Management for South Asia, as well as she also serves the advisory board of the internationally ranked Bureau, and furthermore, she has more than 35 years of experience as an academic researcher, consultant, and communicator in the area as forest management, environmental assessment, agroforestry and social forestry, integrated natural resource management, climate change and monitoring and evaluation. And she has wide experience in many countries: Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, United States, United Kingdom, Canada, and have worked with many international donor agencies: World Bank, Asian Development, United Nations, Food and Agriculture Organization, Plan, JICA. And last but not the least, Professor Hemanthi Ranasinghe was awarded the Professional Woman of the Year by the Women's Chamber of Commerce in the year 2000, and is the founder and patron of the Divisarana, the Animal Welfare Association of the university. So I cordially invite to Madam to share your valuable knowledge on this session. Dear Madam, over to you.
Thank you very much, Green Building Council, for inviting me to share some of my experiences on a very pet topic that I harbor, which is sustainable urban planning. So let me share my presentation first. Okay, so I'll be talking about towards sustainable cities, challenges, and way forward. So first of all, I know that most of you are very, very knowledgeable about urbanization, cities. But just to put a good base to my presentation, what is a city? A city is a large and permanent human settlement characterized by its complex system of buildings, infrastructure, and social, economic, and cultural institutions. So the key features of a city are that it's population density. Definitely, cities compared to rural areas, they are highly populated. And they have a lot of infrastructure. Cities have developed infrastructure that includes roads, bridges, public transportation, and other utilities such as water and electrical supplies, and other facilities which support the daily lives of the residents. So the economic activities, the cities are hubs of economic activity, hosting a wide range of industries, businesses, and services. They often attract a diverse workforce and offer employment opportunities. Cultural and social institutions. Cities are centers of culture, education, social interaction. We see that there's a lot of museums, art galleries, and various institutes where culture is brought to the fore. And also governance. We could see the governance in cities, have local governments responsible for providing essential services, maintaining public order, and managing urban planning and development. We could see that the waste is being taken off by the municipalities. Then we are provided with water supply by the water board, and then by the electrical supply by the electricity board and all that. And governance structures can vary widely based on the place. So here, what I want to show is that, well, actually it's very, very arbitrary, but some cities have a lot of infrastructure so that they really can't afford to have much greenery, whereas some other cities have developed a balance between their green spaces, the greenery, and infrastructure. So as a small example here, well, in one instance, the green spaces are very little, which is shown by this yellow figure, and road and transportation infrastructure, as well as building and infrastructure, are huge. Whereas the other instance where the building and infrastructure is in moderation and green spaces are much higher. So you could see some pictures of what I'm saying. So how cities contribute to economic development and growth? Because we should know that, and then only we could develop from them to make them more sustainable. So it's actually cities are really agglomeration of economics. A major part of economic development, the GDP growth, are serviced by cities in many countries, including Sri Lanka. So cities create economies where concentration of people, businesses, and infrastructure leads to efficiency and productivity. And they are innovation hubs. Cities often serve as centers of innovation and technical advancement of individuals, researchers, entrepreneurs, fostering the environment that encourages dissemination of new ideas. That is why you always could see that around the world, people flock to cities because there's more opportunities for them to be. And there are more jobs also in cities. And infrastructure development, cities are focal points of infrastructure development, investments and transportation, communication, utilities, create a foundation for economic growth, which provides, facilitates a good quality of life for people. And human capital formation, they attract, as I said, diverse and skilled workforce. Okay, if we go a little further, it provides market access to larger markets, both businesses and consumers, and it creates cultural and creative industries, financial centers. Many cities serve as financial hubs, hosting stock exchanges, banks, and other financial institutions. Diversity and specialization. Cities often exhibit a higher degree of specialization in certain industries or sectors, and have, as I said earlier, high quality of life. That is, it attracts talent and businesses, and it provides healthcare, education, recreational opportunities, which contribute to the overall attractiveness of the cities for the people. Okay, so we were talking mostly about economic development here. So in a normal circumstances, economic development would be given priority, as shown in this picture on the left side, and then followed by social development and welfare, and I suppose lastly, environmental conservation. But it should not be the case, because all these three things are three prongs of sustainable development, which ensures a higher quality of life for present and future generations. So therefore, they should all be on par. And how to balance it is the talk of today. A sustainable city, or it's called a living city, is a broad vision for an attractive, healthy, and sustainable urban region where human settlement can flourish forever as part of nature's beauty and diversity. So it's not that we are posing threats to the nature and relegating the nature to the corners, and subsequently, experience the repercussions, but we are part of the nature. I mean, that is what we have to quest for. How to do it? As I said earlier, these three prongs of development, which is economic development, social welfare, environmental conservation, should be built in to sustainable living city concept. And but there are challenges. I'll tell you later on as to how we could do it, what are the propositions. But first, we will see what are the challenges in achieving this one. First one is, the urban population growth. As we could see, as it is predicted also into the future, more and more population will flock into cities. And therefore, cities will face a lot of challenges. And urban's role is continuing. Inadequate infrastructure to support them, limited resources, conflicting interest among stakeholders, that is development versus conservation, which we all know. And when there's a plot of land in a city, the first thing which comes to the mind of a developer or even a politician would be, okay, this I can have a multi-story building here. Why would I leave such a important, such a valuable land just as it is? But we might not know the ecosystem benefits that bare land would give us. For example, like if there's a lot of torrential rains, and that land would absorb the water so that the urban dwelling will not flood. But if we had used it for so-called economic development with multi-story buildings or human settlements, yes, we will have to face the floods and also spend a lot of money on loss and damage. And environmental challenges, climate change, pollution, waste, health issues are there in cities. These are some of these pictures of that. This is, this transportation that in cities where public transportation is not high quality and not adequate, people are using their own transportation and clogging the roads of the cities, which causes traffic congestion and environmental pollution. And here, some vehicles, despite the fact that there are regulations, but they emanate a lot of pollution. And air pollution, not only in Sri Lanka, but worst cases are there in other parts of the world also. For example, in Nepal, the Kathmandu city, it is really always experience pollution, dust pollution as well as vehicular pollution. And some call it even dust mandu. And people have to wear the mask all the time when they are out. And in India, in New Delhi also, there are times when smog is quite intense. And it really, shows that this, you can't see a field that you need to have some construction there. But if it is not sited properly, you have to face the repercussions of it. And one important thing is these floods. Here are some examples of that from Sri Lanka. And then water pollution. Cities host a lot of industries, and so if they don't dispose their waste properly, it goes to the water bodies which everybody uses, even for drinking. And also when the drains which takes the excess water from the city to the sea is clogged like this, they get blocked and health issues are very prominent. Suboptimal waste management is always the case because, as I said, cities, they have problems with infrastructure, problems with resources. So maybe like not enough waste management infrastructure, the vehicles, and waste is thrown all over the place. So many open dumps are visible. Okay, these are few challenges that I posed. But we are here to see how best we could create a sustainable living city. So essential components of a living city should be clean air, rivers, water bodies, and wetlands to act as natural pollution filters and habitats for life. So they are called low-hanging fruits. It's there anyway. So why don't you utilize it? I mean, enjoy the benefits that they provide rather than changing them, changing the land use, and face the adverse repercussions and pay more money to get rid of it. Conserve biodiversity, enhance green space and connectivity for urban dwellers, both humans, plants, and animals. So when I talk about it, I remember when I was studying, I was working on my sabbatical in US, in Connecticut, close by to New York. It's really in the city that we were living, but in our backyard, there was a patch of forest along a watercourse, and many animals were crossing that and even come to our garden, including deers and, so many animals and a lot of birds. So, I mean, one would think that in the heart of a city, how can it be possible? But because of correct urban planning, it was made possible so that people would feel that you are not in a concrete jungle, but you are living in a place where nature is also at its best. Eco-housing, energy conservation, use of renewable energies, sustainable, affordable transport, and waste management, which I will walk you through few examples. So integrated urban planning is the key. Develop comprehensive urban planning strategies that consider everything to balance the economic development with social welfare and environmental conservation, so that land use, transportation, housing, infrastructure, everything is planned in an integrated manner, and implement mixed use zoning to introduce the need for long commutes and promote walkability. So this is a small example of Islamabad in Pakistan, where this kind of practice is happening, where they have sectors, and in particular sector, they have all the amenities one would want, so that one doesn't have to cross to another sector, which reduces the time as well as the cost for transportation. So it is a very classic example of mixed-use development. And we have done zoning in Sri Lanka also, especially under strategic environmental assessment process. And this is an example of Hambantota, where the Hambantota had been zoned for different land uses. This is done by Urban Development Authority, and the different colors depict different things, and we could see that a large area had been allocated for animals, like there's a lot of elephants there, so elephant management zone is there, so that you will know that in that zone development is not promoted, or should not be promoted. And there are other areas where human habitation, especially with this dark brown, means that, it's a development zone. It's good for development. Construction, infrastructure can be accommodated there. And other zones like the green zone, it's mostly agricultural zones. And then tourism zones are being allocated. So this is a practice which is being done also in Sri Lanka, but still, more to be done on that. And green spaces and biodiversity, preserve and create green spaces within a city to improve air quality, provide recreational areas, and support biodiversity. It's a very important thing to promote urban agriculture and community gardens also to enhance local food production. So some of these pictures show green spaces and biodiversity, how they have been integrated in the urban area, and especially you could see that there's a waterway going. So on both sides of the waterway, trees or some kind of forest is being maintained, and in parks and in backyards of homes, greenery is being promoted. So integrating green spaces, parks, and natural habitats within cities enhances biodiversity, enhance connectivity of all species, and improve air quality and recreational spaces for inhabitants. This is how we could, even despite small spaces in the urban dwellings, we could have our own gardens for fruits and for beauty. And urban forestation, creating urban forest and planting trees helps in carbon sequestration. Also, it is also a more recently identified added benefit, and because trees are the only organisms which can absorb the atmospheric carbon dioxide, which is now because of the climate change, it's a very prominent greenhouse gas which can be absorbed by the trees and produce the much needed oxygen in return to the people. And also it improves air quality and provides shades for cooling. And then another important thing in a sustainable city is conservation of water, because water is very finite. And especially in urban dwellings, water, especially drinking water, is scarce. And in the dry zone, we have long dry periods where it doesn't rain much, and this is very important. So implement water efficient technologies and practices to reduce water consumption. Develop sustainable water management strategies, including rainwater harvesting and efficient irrigation systems, as you could see here in buildings, because I emphasize a little bit more on green buildings, because especially this talk is being hosted by the Green Building Council of Sri Lanka. Different types of taps where it is on demand. The water is supplied on demand, and then even the toilet flushing is done appropriately. And here, even in there's wet zone, we can use this rainwater harvesting. And in fact, it was at one time integrated as a must for all houses by the Urban Development Authority also, because to have a rainwater harvesting tank. And here it is underground, so therefore it is not ugly also. And the water which is collected from that one will be used for gardening, washing, and toilet flushing, and clothes, washing clothes. So you don't have to use the water which is been filtered by the water board for those purposes. And another important thing is resilience and climate adaptation, because many of the urban areas are vulnerable to climate change. Especially we know that even in Sri Lanka, for the past 5 months, it's been raining continuously. So there are so many cities which goes underwater. So plan for climate resilience by considering the potential impacts of climate change on infrastructure and communities, and implement measures to adapt to extreme weather events such as floods. How you do it, this is a problem of conventional development, where we concentrate more on the infrastructure rather than keeping the greenery. And what happens is, when it rains, you could see the precipitation is 100%, runoff is 55%. But when there's it is integrated with a lot of greenery, runoff is 10%. You know what runoff is? Runoff causes floods. And here, infiltration 50%, because of the greenery, whereas infiltration, or what is consumed to the soil, is only 15%. So we could see a classic example of wrong planning or short-term planning, which caused catastrophes. So here also, low-lying areas, despite all these regulations, still you could find that housing is located in low-lying areas, which is reputed to go under water also repeatedly. So we should not do that. And low impact development is that, you develop all this, but you don't spend that much of money, because you are using a lot of nature benefits or nature-based services for these systems and practices that use or mimic natural processes that result in the infiltration. So here I'm showing some developed countries where they don't have drains, or they don't really line the drains, but rather they plant trees, small plants and greenery, so that the storm water is absorbed and also infiltrated inside. So that one thing is you spend less, another thing is you continuously absorb the water and replenish the underground water storage. And here also the porous pavings. I mean, when you concrete it, you do it in a porous way, so that the water is spilt on to this drain, which is also not lined but with greenery. But the thing is that they have to be maintained properly also, but still it creates a beautiful environment and also does the job. Porous pavements again allows infiltration. Low-lying areas adjacent to roads absorb the runoff water. Ensure proper stormwater drainage here, this kind of systems. and also to maintain many wetlands, because we know that wetlands are reputed to absorb the water and keep it within their ecosystem and then release it very gradually when it doesn't rain. So we need to keep them, and also can be used for recreation. And we have a lot of parks in our urban areas, also in Colombo. And we are glad to say that, Colombo wetlands is one of the Ramsar wetlands, which is very important. So you could see that urban wetlands had been used for recreation as well. And then renewable energy, transition to renewable energy sources for powering the city infrastructure and buildings, implement energy efficient practices and technologies to reduce overall energy consumption. So here it's another, increasingly we could see that houses and industries are having solar panels, which is very encouraging. And also another important infrastructure that we need to manage is transport. Develop and expand public transportation systems to reduce the reliance on individual vehicles, which reduces traffic congestion and air pollution. And also promote the use of electric or hybrid vehicles and invest in infrastructure to support these technologies. So here these some of them, because if you use a large train, it can accommodate about 1,000 people, whereas if you use the individual cars, you need about at least 500 cars to to compare with that one. So likewise, I mean, our public transportation need to be in a higher quality so that it would attract everyone. And green building, I'll talk about green building a bit, because buildings, we have so many buildings, so we need to convert it or have new green buildings. Green building is not only like green or planting trees in buildings, but it's a different ballgame. So this is the green building as such, where of course there is the greenery surrounding it, because it's been found that if you have greenery surrounding a building, you can reduce the heating, the cooling cost by 50%. And also you could see that here there's this solar panels are there, the big verandas are there, and then the roofs are very high so that it allows good airflow. And also it's been set up so that it can maximize the sun's energy, so that you can use the natural light as much as possible. So these are little things actually, protecting the occupants' health, reducing waste and environmental degradation, improving employee productivity, and sustainable construction materials. These are some of these benefits. Energy savings, water conservation, low carbon footprint, reduced environmental impact, and better indoor air to breathe. So it's been found that energy use can be reduced by 50%, 24% to 50%. I mean, it varies based on how much green building concepts that you have integrated to your building. Carbon dioxide emissions also can be reduced from 33 to 39%. Water use 40%, and waste 70%. So these are few examples. I'll rush through because I think there's a limitation of time. So this is actually a factory, a print factory, where they have only used skylights for the lighting. And when there's a real, very focused work, they have used point lights, so that you can save a lot on energy. And I mentioned this water conservation earlier. and then this resorting to rainwater storage and making your own energy. Let it be bioenergy, let it be wind energy based on where you live. And most of the industries now resort to solar energy, not only for their use, but they are also providing it to the grid. This is a factory where industries have used here all the roofs are full of the solar panels, as well as they have reduced the cooling cost by having a lot of greenery and also a lot of water. Rooftop and balconies, they really provide, they reduce the heat island impact. So that you don't need that much of energy to cool. And also you can cover maximum of 75% on non-roof hardscape also, like the walls and the driveways, which reduces, as I said, 50% or more of your cooling cost. So you can resort to green construction materials and use solar tiles also in place of the normal tiles, and triple glazed windows so that heat doesn't enter your building. And you can use eco-friendly steel bars, bamboos against steel. So likewise, so some examples very quickly. I will not go through all this, but this is a MS Turuli, which is LEED Platinum rating factory, this is a photograph I showed earlier also, where here you could see that their verandas are very big and the roofs are very high, and they are using a lot of water and greenery so that they can reduce their carbon footprint, and the employees can really live very comfortably. So here is their canteen where there's no air conditioning, no fans, but don't feel anything because they have a green roof on the top. So these are some of these pictures, and having water is also very important because it really gives a cooling impact. And another one is Kandalama, which is also LEED Gold rating. Not only this, but there are so many, but just few examples I took. And then waste management, which is also a very important thing because you implement effective waste management systems, including recycling programs and waste to energy technologies, and promote waste reduction and reuse practices to minimize the environmental impact of solid waste. So these are few examples of planned cities where this waste collection is done properly. And these waste bins have been planted in city areas, and waste collection is also done regularly. And here in apartment buildings, this is how it's been done. And this, of course, is very common where these PET bottles recycled in Sri Lanka. And also the smart technology integration, because cities are smart cities, so they should need use smart technologies. Just for example, this is app which is being developed, and it's been used in many cities also, where about waste collection, so that the inhabitants know when the waste is being collected, where the lorry is with its GPS, and then what are the dates that they collect the waste, different type of waste. So everything is streamlined. So there are other not only waste collection, but even when they have waste, they can say, okay, we have this much, this much, this much, and then maybe they can sell it to the buyers also through that. Then community engagement is very important because cities are dwellers of people, so they have to manage their own so should involve the communities in the decision-making process through participatory planning and citizen engagement. So we should not think that, no, we only live here, but somebody has to provide us everything. No, it is our own city. So there has to be mechanisms where the dwellers can be involved in not only living, but planning their the life, planning the city. So here, it's also important that social equity, prioritize social equity in urban planning to ensure that all residents have equal access to resources, services, and opportunities. And education and innovation is also very important, that there has to be continuous education and awareness process. As you could see here, so these are the people and private sector, NGOs, and other communities getting involved in tree planting, cleaning the areas. So this is actually a picture of a walking path maintained by a Pradesh Sabha, but people who use it continuously or regularly to Sramadanas to clean the area, and also to develop various required infrastructure because they think it is their own. So it is a very important notion. And also here we can develop, this is a dwelling where this lane, the tree planting in those lanes are being done by the dwellers, and they look after it also because they have understood the value of it. And also the shops, the shopkeepers, because you can plant trees, but the difficulty is to look after. So there are so many campaigns in the country, 1 million trees, 2 million trees, but how many million is left? That is the issue. But if you have a good custodian to look after, that is the key. So here, even in these busy streets, we can identify the shopkeepers to look at it. And also the citizen science, where the citizens are used or they are being engaged to find new things or report or monitor the progress of efforts that's being done by the government or other organizations are very important because they gladly would do it. They collect data so that the big data pool will be collected so that the government can, make decisions and take actions accordingly. So what the enabling environment in the country with regard to government, there's a lot. Public and government structures, like we have urban development policy, and which is being, of course, being drafted still. No, not drafted still. Urban forest policy is being drafted still. Urban development policy is there. Urban Development Act is there, and it specifically says that development plans for every district where 10% of each hectare left should be as a public open recreational space. And also they say across an entire urban area, 40% of the space should be allocated as a green lung. And every household should be within 500 meters of an arm of a green network. So if it can be done, I mean, it is being done, to a large extent, but we need to do it 100%. And we have climate change policy, national determined contributions and implementation, where human settlements and infrastructure is a key sector. And we have national and provincial climate change adaptation plans almost ready to go. And they are also human development, human settlement and infrastructure is a key. And we have pledged as a country to be net zero by 2050, and we cannot do it unless we resort to a sustainable urban planning. So we need to learn from each other around the world. I brought some examples also from other countries, and others also can learn from us so that we can ensure that our future leaders will have a high quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, madam. Madam, now,
Shall I stop share?
yeah, sure, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Now we can move Q&A session. And firstly, there is one question on the chat box. There is any mechanism identified in smart cities to reduce light pollution?
Light pollution.
Yes.
Is it light pollution?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Actually, there's no regulation as such for that, but it is a very important aspect which has to be considered. I have not come across any regulation on that one, but thank you very much. It's really a very important thing.
If you have any question, you can ask, unmute yourself and ask questions. I think, ma'am, there is no any question. So,
Professor,
Yes, please.
Professor, that can you add something about how the behaviors of the city dwellers to ensure sustainability of city environment? What kind of behavioral adaptations they have to practice to ensure this quality of urban environment?
Yes, actually, even though there are regulations, if one doesn't resort to it, nothing will happen. So the key is with the city dwellers, let it be the ones which comes to the city but don't reside there, or the ones who resides. So like I said, even taking a small thing like waste management, because we know that there are places where waste should be disposed. But if you don't care about it and just throw your waste wherever you think fit, or we have seen that bins marked. This is where you should put the organic matter. This is where you should put the bottles. This is where you should put the plastics. But then you just throw it all over the place. Even the lunch packet that you have, there is plastic there. There is organic matter. You just put it in one bin. I mean, what can they do? I mean, the people who take it, they will also take it and put it in an open dump because it's not been separated. So likewise, if you don't take the action to abide by the accepted norms, I mean, I would not even say regulations, but accepted norms, you create bad quality of life for you as well as for others. That's one example. And the city dwellers, and also the water conservation. If you don't, there's so many methodologies where you should conserve water because water is limited in a city especially. But if you don't care and you just do whatever you wish, you just open the tap, or you wash your clothes every day and consume the water which should be shared by others, you create a bad environment for all. So, I mean, the key is with the people.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, we have another question on the chat box. It is changing of electric vehicles do not have any environmental effect.
You mean asking whether it is the case? changing to resort into electric vehicles.
Yes.
Yeah, electric vehicles actually, we know that ideally it would be good if the electric vehicles could be charged by a renewable source. And that's one thing, that's for the maximum environmental sustainability. And if you have your own solar panels at home, and if you can use that electricity to charge your vehicle, that is very good. And also, even if you don't have that facility, but the emissions from the electric vehicles are very, very minimal. I mean, almost, non-existent. So because of that one, you emit pollution much, much less when driving an electric vehicle. But the only thing is that there is this speculation that their batteries at the moment are short-lived. So once the battery runs out of its capacity, how to dispose it. So there's a lot of discussion on that one. And around the world, especially Tesla company and all that, they are in the process of developing batteries which has a long life. So therefore, these things need to be improved with time, but still, when you take the emissions point of view, they are much on top of the normal vehicles.
Professor, one more thing. You add particular technical term, green island impact.
Heat island, yes.
Heat island impact. So can you add something about that? Can you elaborate this thing and how it really matter to urban life and that cultivation or that urban vegetation, it really matter to sort this matter?
Yeah, heat island impact is when there's no urban vegetation, when there's a lot of concrete, just infrastructure, heat gets trapped, and then it becomes hot, more hot than when in a normal circumstances. So that is what is called heat island impact. I mean, heat gets trapped and the dwellers become very uncomfortable. It becomes very hot. So that is why you need to have a lot of greenery in a city so that this heat island impact will not be there. And also, in addition to that, when you have your buildings, when you cover the buildings, cover the walls of the building and have a rooftop where there's greenery, it also absorbs the heat. So, for example, like this Mars Turuli company, where when we walk into this canteen, you feel cool. Why? Unless it is also in intermediate zone, but in any other circumstances it would be hot and you might have to use fans and air conditioning, whereas because the roof is having greenery and the sun's rays is being absorbed by that, the heat has not emanated or penetrated through to the building, so it is cool. So that is why. So only way to get out of heat island impact is to have more greenery in the urban in the city or the urban dwelling.
Thank you very much.
Madam, and we have one more question. What is the best method for waste management in green buildings?
Any building, actually, the construction of a green building that calls for reduction of the waste in the construction process. When you have to identify, when you do sustainable sourcing, there won't be more raw materials than you require, right? So therefore, you expect to reduce the waste, construction waste at that point. But when you are living in a green building, it is the normal waste management practices for any building, that is that waste should not be there. So the only thing is that, I just, there is this, you have to recycle as much as possible. You have to follow the waste management hierarchy, where at the top is that, there's no waste, because you have decided, your attitudes have changed, so that you will only consume what you require. Let it be what you eat, let it be what you wear, let it be anything. So there's no additions. So, and that is what is there is only what you require. So there's no waste, right? And then, of course, down the lane, you come to recycling of the 7R concept of waste management, where the reduce, recycle, and then rethink. Rethink is what I meant. When you go to buy something, you rethink that, you might not need it because you have so much at home. So rethink, then give it like to people. If you don't need it, give it to someone, so that someone doesn't have to go and buy anything, but he can use it, he or she can use it. So, this 7R concept. So, in a green building or any other thing, when people are living, we should really resort to good waste management practices, which is we had to follow the waste management hierarchy, which is a 7R concept, where at the top there's no waste at all. But I might add, that is philosophical, but in developed countries, where they have, I'll bring a small example of Toronto, where I visited recently. And what they do is that the waste management is done by the municipality, but contracted out to a company or companies, where the people have to pay for waste management, and they have to draw contracts with the company who takes their waste. And so therefore, because you have to pay, you put out minimum. And therefore, this kind of reduction of the waste which goes out is inculcated into your habit. And then the greens, if they don't have space, the greens, they will take it and then recycle or use it for making of fertilizer and so forth. But then the others, they will take and recycle appropriately, and the rest they will landfill. But the householder has to pay. So therefore, when the payment is included, you're very careful about your waste.
Madam, another question we have. Do the carbon trading help to enhance the green city concept?
Yes, green city definitely, because like I said, this carbon net zero effort that country had signed, that the country will be carbon net zero by 2050, and urban trees also is calculated for that. Unless and until we have urban greenery, we will not be able to claim that status. And that is a carbon trading, still carbon trading, by trading your own carbon in your backyard, and that kind of thing is being developed, and there's this carbon fund lodged in the Ministry of Environment, which is acting as a public-private partnership, which helps people to get the benefits from the trees that you plant. But in the urban dwelling, it is calculated as the carbon lodged in trees in the urban is mostly public. So it's been calculated, and maybe the benefits go to the country at large. So carbon trading has given an incentive for people to plant more and more trees, which is also very important. Recently, I participated in an effort done by Lions Club, where they have selected a home garden, but where there are barren parts also, and did a huge tree planting program. And in addition to the other benefits, they expect that the carbon trading also can be done, and also the emissions from the industries which are located close by can be offset by these trees when they come up. So, I mean, it is now universal. Everybody thinks about it, which is very important, not only the government, private sector, NGOs, and other well-wishers, and just you and me. So it's a very important concept.
Ma'am, so time is up. I think it's time to wind up our session today. So thank you very much, Madam, for taking time from your busy schedule to be the resource person today's session, and your remarkable depth of the understanding of the subject made the lecture an exceptionally stimulating and informative one. So thank you very much again and again. And thank you all for being a great audience today. And let's meet up our next Green Talk with the next month. So thank you all and good night. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you very much. I very much appreciate the invitation, as well as the lovely audience and the very interactive questions. Yes, thank you very much. Have a good night, all of you.
Thank you.